Hey everyone, Andrew here, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to you. Yes, you listening to this podcast. It might not seem like much tuning into the show, and while it does mean a lot to us that you enjoy the content, more importantly, it shows that you're committed to your vision. This year has been crazy for everyone, but despite that, you listening to what we have to share means that no matter what life throws at you, it doesn't matter. And what does matter is you're focused and determined to make a difference and have an impact as a creator. So again, this shout out is for you, for investing in yourself by taking action that will influence others. And honestly, that's pretty damn cool. So thank you so much for listening to Indie Game Movement. And now, let's get to the show. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Indie Game Movement, the podcast that talks about the marketing and business of indie games. I'm Andrew Pappas. I'm going to be your host today, along with Mustapha Price, our show's producer. And this is episode 141, our year-end special. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's been a difficult year. But despite the turbulence and uncertainty that has impacted the industry, Mustapha and I can confidently say that indie games as a whole has taken this as an opportunity to shine brighter and be a beacon of hope in our creative medium. Now, with that said, we wanted to celebrate this by putting together an end-of-year special by having a more relaxed structure compared to previous episodes where we put together a small panel of past guests to reflect on this year's events and how they bring us closer as an industry and community. So that's what we're going to be talking about right here today on Indie Game Movement. Hey everybody, and we're back. And first, I wanted to say, thanks for listening for all this year. And in light of that, we have an awesome episode for you guys, and a few guests actually. I'll just introduce you to them briefly. We have Jenny Wyndham from Rose City Games. She was a guest on our show in episode 124 about keeping the healthy community. And we also have Chris Wolf from Those Awesome Guys, and he was in episode 133, specifically talking about standing out in a digital landscape. So guys, first, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you being here.
Happy to be here. Happy to be back.
Thanks so much. It's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And of course, we also have our other fearless leader here, Mustapha Price, the producer of the show. Mustapha, how's it going, buddy?
Well, geez, you just called me fearless, so I think you're setting me up for failure. Otherwise, doing just dandy. Having a great Sunday.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we get into it, I'll actually start with you, Jenny, to kind of give yourself. I know you provided some intro before in the previous episode, but would love to share about what you do for Rose City Games and any fun and exciting things that you have up and coming, and obviously the same to you, Chris, when Jenny's all done.
Yeah. So again, my name is Jenny. I do pretty much all things communications and community related at Rose City Games. So anything that hopefully gets the games in front of people, get them excited about it, get them coming into like our Discord and social media, like wanting to know more. That's what my goal is. In addition to that, I also create content, mostly stream, focusing on indie games, and particularly within indie games, those with more of a narrative, thoughtful, or wholesome bent. And so I've been doing a lot of work in that realm and really trying to advocate for as much representation and inclusion and diversity in the indie industry as possible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm Chris. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, and there you go, Chris. You took it right away.
Hi, I'm Christopher Wolf. I work at Those Awesome Guys, a little indie publishing development hybrid out of Bucharest, Romania. In my current role, mostly involved on the business development side of things since recently. And I still have my hands in a bunch of like live operations topics for our internally developed games, as well as talking to some of the teams that we work with on the business development side. besides that, I spend a bunch of time curating and helping organize and support smaller showcases and awards, anywhere from like local stuff here in Germany up to like the IGF awards once a year on a smaller scale.
Awesome. Well, again, can't thank you guys enough for being here, and we'll just probably just get right into the conversation here. And Mustapha, I'll let you take it from here because to be quite honest, everybody, Mustapha did an awesome job putting this together. So, and I'm just going to have him take the lead with it on that front because there's just a lot of cool things that we're going to be talking about. So, Mustapha, why don't you let us know what we're getting ourselves into with this episode?
Yeah, and thank you for that, Andrew. I really appreciate it. I felt it was very important this year especially. I know we've heard 1,000 different times in 1,000 different ways about how difficult it's been, but there have been a lot of silver linings that we've depended on. And I think that while the turbulence of this year has definitely impacted our own industry a great deal, indie games have taken this as an opportunity to really shine brighter, I believe, and be a beacon of hope in our creative medium. Thanks in no small part to some of the people here on this call and many people across our entire industry. So as a podcast that celebrates indie games, I felt it our obligation to celebrate that as much as possible. So we put together this kind of year-end special, which is going to serve as a trip down memory lane, both for the podcast itself, as well as the indie pocket of the games industry. So our structure is going to be different, definitely a bit more panel than our typical interview style, but I think it will serve as a lot of fun for everyone involved. So to jump right in and show how our format is different, I figured we could do what I have named the Quad Box.
Ooh.
Our typical Q Box round. We're going to do a reduced number of questions, but in addition to our guests, both Andrew and myself will also be answering the questions as well. So hope you're ready for that, Andrew. I don't know if
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know if I am, but that's okay. We'll just go with it.
All right, cool. Let's keep it rolling. So to start, keep it simple. Our favorite indie game of the year. Does anybody have something that they're really itching to answer with, or?
Oh my gosh, I have can I pick two? Is that cheating?
Go for it.
At least two.
You might have to pick one for me, honest.
Because the first indie, I've spent so much time with Spiritfarer, and so much love to Hades, because I think that's a lot of people's indie game of the year, but for me, Spiritfarer really took it away. But I think the sleeper indie game that everyone should be playing, but I don't see as many people talking about, is Carto, which is a game, a little small puzzle game that has to do with manipulating the map to solve puzzles, and it's so cute. So those would be my two.
Nice.
Those are some great choices.
Yeah, they are.
I'll have to cheat a little bit as well. My 2020, but really exploding in 2018, but really exploding 2020 game of the year is definitely Among Us. I've been spending a ridiculous amount of time in that game, and I'm struggling even with 6 player groups or 6 independent Discord servers to find enough sessions to jump into to really satisfy me. It's so good. But otherwise, Coffee Talk. I almost forgot it was a 2020 title, but it just combines so many different elements that I love. Pacific Northwest, middle of the night, monsters, some really chill music, and coffee. What else could you want? And rain in the background. It's basically Seattle as a video game with monsters. It's beautiful.
That's a great choice. I also forgot. I felt like that was so long ago, but it was just 2020.
It's crazy.
It's such a good game.
So I guess since we're all cheating, I'm going to cheat too, because I've been really bouncing back and forth between 3 games right now. Hades, obviously everybody loves. Haven by the Game Bakers, which just came out fairly recently. And I'm sure some of you listening remember we had them on the show a while back as well to talk about the marketing for Fury. So I'm a bit of a fanboy. And then Eichenfell, I'm pretty deep into, and that has been really fun as well. It's a game by Humble Games about the magic school, and I'm loving it. So
I'm in the midst of Eichenfell as well, and I'm the soundtrack is probably one of my favorites of this year. It's so good.
Sure. It's beautiful. I love the use of like piano with the chiptune.
Oh,
and I know it's
yeah.
Steven Universe composers, but they took such a fun spin on this one. I'm having a blast with it.
All right, I'm gonna have to go with 2 as well. And I remember these stood out the most, especially when I was at PAX, and I'll give a little more context. So one of them is definitely Spirit Fair, and the reason being is because I got to play that the demo at the very end of PAX, so I was like super drained, and I'll tell you, and I don't know if it was because I was just really tired or whatever, but I put those headsets on. And for a 2D, very casual game, I was so immersed. I like started, and it's not too often I have this experience with games in general. Maybe it's because I'm playing them at home and have kids running around me like crazy. But putting those headsets on and being fully immersed to the point where I felt like I was in that environment and it was just so comfortable and everything, I didn't want to get up. It just really drew me in. So Spirit Fair was definitely one. And then the other one, because I've heard a lot of people say great things about this while at PAX. I'm like, well, there's so much like stimulation there. There's never like I never get a common denominator kind of thing with the game. But this one, it was Season, in which a boy's trying to, go around, very immersive too, just like Spirit Fair. It's a 3D environment opposed to 2D. But like a boy's trying to like. Basically, his whole village is going to be flooded, and you have to like document things before that happens. So, and I don't want to, and that's just the overall premise. But man, that was just the visuals and everything else, super immersive and such a interesting story, but one I think a lot of people can relate to. So those are my 2, I guess.
All right, so some really solid game picks all around. It sounds like so. Kind of further proves my thesis that we've had a rad year, but just saying. So the second question is favorite meme of the year, and this can be really any meme format, anything. I mean, I guess try to keep PG-13 or below, but yeah, essentially, if there's anyone that was particularly stand out for you.
I think I have to go with a non-gaming meme. I really, really enjoyed anything that had to do with Gritty protecting the Philadelphia Convention Center during election week. That was just absolutely hilarious. I didn't like Gritty before that, but since then I've become a big, big Gritty supporter. And since we're in the, we've now established that 2 choices are okay as well. Again, anything Among Us related, there's been some really good internet content about being sus. Again, probably also in correlation to the election. So yeah, big fan.
Yes, absolutely. The Among Us memes have been just 10 out of 10. I think my pick is probably the meme format with the 2 astronauts on the moon looking at the Earth and what's going to the other. It's like, oh, it's all blank, and then he says, always has been. I don't know. Something about that really works for me, but I like tropey stuff like that.
I think Chris is maybe going to celebrate when I say this. I don't know if one in particular really stands out, but I discovered TikTok this year, like a decade later. Yeah. Honestly, like there are so many just like meme formats and like sort of viral sound bites formats on TikTok that like it's just all good. And I am now a convert, and I think everyone should check out TikTok. Like I'm not gonna do it. No, girl. Like, don't you do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. Like that for me is so good. Like the Save the Last Dance meme, where we look back to Save the Last Dance, and it's so good, and it's like very specific because also I'm a dancer, so watching that meme was very good for me. But yeah, TikTok honestly as a whole just really revealed a whole new world of comedy to me this year, so I love it.
It's basically a futuristic version of Vine with way more potential, which is just exactly what we needed in a year like 2020.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, Chris, I see the light now. I understand what you're saying.
All right, taking notes for a few